Hi, I'm Chandler O'Quinn, and you're not. Welcome to Chandler's Travels. In this episode, we're taking a look at Juan Ponce DeLeon's first landing in Florida. Hope you'll enjoy it. I am here at Juan Ponce DeLeon Landing Park, just a little bit south of Melbourne, off the east coast of Florida. Literally, A1A, the famous highway, is just on the other side of this dune here, and to my right is the Atlantic Ocean. I'm here at Juan Ponce DeLeon Landing Park to talk about the landing of Juan Ponce DeLeon. Ponce DeLeon, we're going to see how many times I say that, and I do enjoy saying it, so it'll probably be a few. Was born in Santervas de Campos in Spain in 1474. He was, I believe, the illegitimate son of a Spanish nobleman, and as such didn't get full rights being recognized and all that, but did get some privileges that others wouldn't have gotten. One of those privileges being he was taken up into a military order, and we are at the very tail end of the Reconquista. So the Spanish pushing the Moors out of the Iberian Peninsula. And Ponce DeLeon, as a teenager in this military order, was involved in those last campaigns. We don't know exactly for sure if he was there, but we're pretty sure that he would have been involved in the taking of Granada in 1492. Well, 1492 is another. There's another auspicious event that took place. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And the following year, Columbus was making a return trip. So needed more people to get on these ships and come out and explore these islands, and Ponce DeLeon volunteered. So he was involved in the second voyage to the New World. He was on the ship that sighted Puerto Rico for the first time, which would play a large part in his own life. From 1493 on to 1503, he kind of disappears from the record. But in 1503, there is a native rebellion in Iquique, which is this kind of town on the island of Hispaniola. And Ponce DeLeon is involved in a very brutal squashing of this native rebellion on Iquique, and he becomes the governor of this community. Then a few years later, in 1505, I believe, he remembers Puerto Rico over there and thinks that there might be gold on Puerto Rico, and so he tries to get the mining rights to Puerto Rico, and he sets up a town over there. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's maybe called Campano, something with a C. Which is the first settlement in Puerto Rico, and therefore, because Puerto Rico is part of the United States, it's the first European settlement in what is now the territory of the United States. This gets into some of the court politics going on in Spain at the time. King Ferdinand, when Ferdinand and Isabella gave Columbus this idea or the right to go and help supported him going across the ocean, going west to see what he would find, they had no idea what he would find. The titles of who owned what were kind of murky because no one expected to find two whole continents out here. So the title that Columbus had entitled him to whatever he found, which that was not going to work. So there's lots of legal and court battles, literal, like the court of the seal of the King and Queen of Spain going on as to who owns these islands, and Ponce de Leon is involved in all of that because Diego Columbus, Christopher Columbus's son, says Puerto Rico belongs to him, that he gets to decide who's ruling it, he gets all the mineral rights, he gets all the gold. Ponce de Leon has been loyal to the King of Spain. The Columbuses have been kind of fighting with the King of Spain, and that leads to, unfortunately, for Ponce de Leon, it's pretty clear in black and white that Puerto Rico did not belong to him. He could not be the governor, that even King Ferdinand did not own Puerto Rico, that belonged to the Columbuses, at least at that moment. That was finally all kind of figured out around 1508, 1510, somewhere in there. Well, all this time, there have been smaller ships that have been exploring up to the north and to the west and all the Caribbean islands. And the natives have also been telling them, hey, there's more gold elsewhere. Please leave. Go find those people. And one of these islands is called Bimini. And so Ponce de Leon, in 1512, gets the contract to explore Bimini, to claim it for Spain, and for him to be the governor of Bimini. So he sets out in March of 1513 to find Bimini. He has 3 ships. He has funded this whole expedition. He has 3 ships. He has 3 crews of those ships, and he brings his mistress along as well. It's always important that you bring your mistress when you're going on these expeditions. They can get very upset if you don't bring them along on the journey. It's one of the main reasons I don't have a mistress anymore. It just gets too complicated. But Ponce de Leon had not learned that lesson, and so the mistress came along. March of 1513. They explore up through some of the islands, some of Turks and Caicos, and then they stumble upon here. Off of the east coast of what is now, what is Florida. In a moment, we're going to talk a little bit more about what they found once they got here in April of 1513. April 3rd, 1513, Juan Ponce DeLeon landed here. He claimed this land for the King of Spain. It was just a few days past Easter during the Spanish Festival of Flowers, known as La Florida. And on the dunes, all around, it was just blooming with so many of these spring flowers that it just all coincided for Ponce de Leon to name this island La Florida. They would continue to hang around here for about 5 days. They didn't find any of the natives, which was probably good. Right here, this central Florida area is sort of the borderlands between several different Native American groups. There would be the Timucuans up to the north. There would be the Taino going to the south. And then this is also kind of the area of the Calusa, though they're really much more focused southwest of here. All 3 of these were bad news for any of these Europeans. So they just hung around for 5 days. days playing around in the Florida surf, exploring, finding whatever food and timber and things that might be around, resupply, and then he would leave here and go south and head towards Key Biscayne, which he would discover. Key Biscayne, he discovers the jet stream, the Gulf Stream that is, because he's running up against it. He's fighting the Gulf Stream the entire way. So this thing that will become this super highway to get these Spanish ships, these European ships back home very quickly, he's actually fighting it the whole way, trying to head south. But the rest of that story is very interesting, but didn't happen here. And at some point in the future, I hope to go to Charlotte Bay and talk more about Ponce DeLeon and his first and second journeys. But I wanted to focus mostly on what happened here and kind of the legacy of it all. What happened here, April 1513, is our first recorded instance of Europeans landing on North America. It is very important to me not to say that American history began here, because there's been thousands of years of native history. I also don't want to upset my Viking friends out there. Leif Erikson is very important, but a distinct chapter of American history began here on this spot in 1513 when Ponce DeLeon landed. It is very likely that what happened here was the first time that the Spanish language was spoken in North America. It is very likely that this would have been the first spot that a prayer to God had been spoken on the mainland of North America. That's just truly staggering to think that this is that spot. I want to talk a little bit more about how we have come to the conclusion that this is the spot in another moment. So if we were talking about this 50 years ago, I wouldn't be here. That is partly because I wasn't alive 50 years ago, although it does feel like that sometimes, but also because we didn't know where Ponce DeLeon actually landed. We had thought for a long time that it was near St. Augustine. I mean, they have an entire park, history park, devoted to Ponce DeLeon there, and the Fountain Youth, which is a myth that we're not going to get into right now. But with the whole idea that Ponce DeLeon discovered Florida at St. Augustine, I mean, that is the oldest community in mainland North America, but those reports are all wrong. They were all based off of bad math, or at least according to one historian, Douglas Peck. So Douglas Peck was in the Navy for a long time, and he was fascinated by Spanish history here in Florida, and the measurements and things that were left behind by those who were on DeLeon's, or the records that we have of DeLeon's landing, didn't make sense with it being St. Augustine. And all of these records and assumptions were based off of them having accurate sextants and compasses, like the English would have had. But the Spanish didn't. The Spanish had a completely different way of measuring distances. And this was mostly done by a form called dead reckoning. So instead of having these accurate sextants and compasses, they started at a place where they knew that they were, and then kind of tried to measure how far they had gone from that place that they were. And Douglas Peck figured out that the compasses that were made in Seville were several degrees off. Every compass that was made in Seville was several degrees off from true north. And he did all of these mathematical calculations and figured out that it would be impossible for Ponce de Leon to have made it all the way to the northern part of Florida where St. Augustine is, that more than likely, following the records that we have, knowing what the compasses were like that were coming from Seville, that this is the spot. Now, it might not be exactly here, of course. He estimates anywhere between 8 miles in that direction or 8 miles in that direction. But either way, that's a far, far cry from St. Augustine. But that all came together. He published his papers. He got together with the community leaders, and scholars are still debating it. But it's enough evidence for me to have decided to come here to talk to you about this distinct chapter of American history that started right here. Well, that just about wraps up this episode of Chandler's Travels. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about these videos about this guy wearing all these wacky clothes, going to these crazy places, and talking to people about history. All of that helps, all that word of mouth, all that sharing and links helps us in growing the channel and allowing us to take even more people along with me on my journeys. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, vaya con Dios.